Good morning, everyone. This is Anne from the Easing Spirit here. Um, so today the topic, what I want to talk about is energy healing and how important it is for your emotional well-being, even as well as your spiritual well-being, right? So back in October of this year, my best friend and I took a road trip. And actually, before we even went on that road trip, I had taken a class. This was even earlier in the year. Um, it was called Reiki 1. And basically, what it does is it teaches you how to heal your body. It teaches you, let me rephrase that. It teaches you how to tap into the universal energy of the planet, Mother Earth, and all creatures and beings. So it teaches you how to center in a type of meditation, right? And basically to quiet your mind, quiet your body, request in your guides, spirit. What I say before I begin a self healing session on myself and bring in the universal energy is I usually close my eyes and I put my hands together. And this is a lot of people equate this to praying, but it's actually called gasho. It's a Japanese Reiki thing, right? And gasho means that you're trying to connect and call in um, the divine to assist you in the healing, right? So I took Reiki 1 because I wanted to learn how to heal my own body. I also wanted to learn how to give that healing to other people. So when I begin a Reiki session on myself or even another person, I do gasho, which is this. And I always close my eyes and I say, Mother, Father, God, Divine Creator, Infinite Source, angels and archangels, Reiki masters past, present, and future, descendants, guides, and spirit. Please come into the session of self-healing and may it go to. Now, if you're doing it on a person, you can request them. What is it that you want focused on? It could be physical ailments, it could be emotional ailments, it could be. However, the one thing that you will learn when you're giving Reiki is wherever the energy needs to go is where it's going to go. So even if they request you, oh, my stomach's been bothering me, or I've had tightness in my chest, or my joints are hurting, you can send Reiki healing to those places. However, if there's somewhere else that the healing needs to go, it will go there if it's more important and for their greater good. So I always say for myself, may it go wherever is for my greater good. Because even if I'm feeling physical ailments, there's something that my higher self and my guides, or even the energy of the planet knows, or the universal energy knows where I need it the most. And so I always send mine with, may it go wherever is for my greater good. So when I took Reiki 1, I took it because I wanted to understand how to tap into that energy. And see, the thing about it is you're actually not doing the healing, the universe is. But you're understanding how to center yourself and call in that energy, right? And then that energy will flow through you and go wherever it needs to go with whatever it is that you're working with. You're the conduit. So you're giving a healing to someone, but you're not doing the healing. The universe is doing it. So when I first took Reiki 1, I took it because I wanted to understand exactly what it was to heal, to give healing to even myself, right? I used to suffer so bad from achy knee joints. I had severe anxiety issues. I had gastrointestinal stuff with acid reflux and heartburn. I had really, really bad allergies. I just had all kinds of stuff, right? And I mean, some of that's not so bad. I mean, there's other people who have got ailments that are far beyond mine. But I just want to give you an idea of what this looks like, right? Tapping into that energy and understanding how it can be beneficial for you. So when I took the Reiki 1 class, it was stressed to us in the class that it's extremely important for you to do a healing on yourself every day, first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. Especially if you're a Reiki practitioner, if you eventually come to the point where you're giving healings to people. Now, remember what I said, the key being the energy will go where it's needed, right? Okay, so let's say you're not caring for yourself, right? You're a Reiki practitioner, but you're not caring for yourself. You're not doing Reiki healings on yourself every day, and you're giving healings to other people. So when you go into Gasho and you ask for that power to be brought through your body to go to somebody else, do you actually think it's going to come through your body and out to somebody else if your body needs it and you haven't given it to yourself already? So that's like the key. That's one of the major keys of being a Reiki practitioner, is understanding that before you give healing to somebody else, you absolutely have to give healing to yourself. Now, I don't do Reiki on myself every day like I used to. However, I do an energy clearing statement also, which will clear the energy and also helps heal my body, because it calls my stagnant energy, it transmutes my stagnant energy around me. And the energy statement also calls back energy from other places that might have attached where it shouldn't have, and I receive it back as healed energy, right? So I do that also. So between the two of them, I generally give myself the healing that I need to have. So when I took Reiki 1, I took Reiki 1 so I would understand what that energy was about. And that's when I realized that I being an empath as I am, I can feel energy, and I can close my eyes and focus. And when I say that I see in my mind's eye. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. I am seeing it with my third eye, but I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. I'm not seeing it in the physical plane. I don't experience there's a ghost standing before me. It doesn't work that way with me. When I see things, I see them in a different way. I see them in a way that I can't explain to other people. And I'm sure there's some people that see the same way I do and they would understand what I'm talking about. But I can see energy. I can feel energy. I can see aura colors in people. So if your aura is a certain color today, maybe you're not feeling well, maybe there's something going on in your aura color is this certain color. And then the next time I see you, it's that certain color. It's because your aura changes with what's going on with you, how you're feeling, the energy that you're holding in your body, whether you're sick or not, if you're stressed about something, if you're being super creative. I mean, there's all different reasons why your aura color would change, right? And so that, is also another part of energy work and understanding energies and understanding how you can work with energies to make differences in your life and the life of the people that you touch. So when I took Reiki 1, I took it wanting to open that door and kind of understand what that looked like, right? So then after I took Reiki 1, I was super excited, and I found out the lady who taught me Reiki 1 was going to make me wait at least 6 months. And I had to have a lot of practice on a lot of people at what you call Reiki shares. And what that means is there'll be like a whole group of people who are at least level 1 Reiki healers. And we will do a a group of us where each person will get to lay down and all of us will share in the healing, and then we'll give messages, and maybe we notice different areas of their body that told us that something wasn't quite right, and we talk about that, and we share that information, right? And so it helps you learn, and it helps you build your ability to allow that universal energy to run through your body so you can be used as a conduit to heal somebody else. I didn't want to wait that long. I was super impatient. So I went online and I found another way that I was able to go through the training exponentially, get all of my certificates. I turned around and took Reiki 1 again through the place that I was going through, Reiki 2, Reiki 3. But not only when you take the course, you have to go through what's called an attunement for each level, level 1, level 2, level 3. So when you go through this attunement, what it does is it cracks you open. And now the universe always sees you, right? I mean, you're a part of the whole cosmic mix. You're a piece of the divine. But you really come into view and focus when you're cracked open like that. And each level that you go, you're cracked open that much more. And so you're that much more in touch with the energies of the universe and the planet and everything that's here, right? And you're seeing even more because now you're actively using that energy. So I took Reiki 1, was super impatient, so I went through Reiki 2 and Reiki 3 through somebody else and got myself all the attunements and got my certificates and everything so that I could start practicing. And at the time I was assisting my best friend in doing Reiki 1 with a group of people. Okay, so then her and I went on a road trip. And I know I've talked about this in other videos of mine. We went on a road trip where we left it. This was in October. It was like a 10-day trip. I want to say we were gone for 10 or 11 days. But we drove, and we drove the coast, the ocean, all the way into Oregon, and then we shot across and came into got into California. We drove the coast, we hit California, and then we shot across from where we came into California over to Flagstaff, Arizona. And then we stayed in Flagstaff, but we visited Sedona while we were there. So when we went to Sedona the first day, Flagstaff reminded me of Washington State. It was really funny when we came into it. I'm thinking to myself, I've always thought of Arizona as arid and dry and not a lot of greenery or anything. But Flagstaff actually reminded me very much of like Bonnie Lake and Puyallup. It was super green, super pretty, right? And it definitely made me feel like I was at home. But when you go down into the valley, down, right? I mean, it is the valley, but it isn't. It's kind of hard to explain. But Flagstaff is up here at a higher elevation. And you go down and you get into the valley, and then you start seeing the clay rock and all that. And then after you drive in there, then you start seeing all the big foothills of all the clay rock and all of that that's in Sedona. And Sedona has got a hum and a vibration all its own. And when we got out there, I could see the vortex colors that were running through the area. And we went to one of the vortexes that we went to was the airport vortex. That's what it's called. And we climbed all the way up to the top of the foothill rock, right? And looked down over the valley, and I could see the color of what the vortex was in that area. It was absolutely amazing. But when I sat on the rocks there and I closed my eyes and I sat cross-legged, the hum that came inside of me and my body began to move in a really slow circle, like I was vibrating all on my own and I had no control over it. It was so hard to explain the feeling that I received from being in that place, and the energy that I felt just like flowing through my body when and this is the other thing too, that energy really, so when I quit smoking, I had a bunch of testing done because I wanted to make sure I didn't have cancer. And I didn't have cancer, but I had severe COPD, or as we used to call it back in the day, emphysema from smoking. I mean, I couldn't walk anywhere. I would be so out of breath. It was ridiculous. I had no energy. I felt extremely tired. I mean, there was other things going on in my life, as everybody knows. With now I'm separated from my husband, and we were having some things going on too. So a lot of that energy had to do with that as well. However, my doctor told me, that I was my lungs were damaged, right? And I thought to myself, okay, I might be able to build my wind up some. And I had tried lots of things to try and build my wind up, and I would still just be, oh gosh, out of breath doing anything. I couldn't even walk up a hill or more than a couple flights of stairs, and I was out of breath. It was absolutely ridiculous. And when we were out there, I went through an energy healing myself when I was there. I tapped into calling in for a Reiki, right? While I was up there. And I felt all of this energy that was just coming into my body. So me and my best friend, we decided to stop by this cute little psychic place, right? And I decided to get a reading. Even though my best friend is psychic and she gives me information all the time, I needed to step outside of my own comfort zone and get information from somebody else. And this lady didn't know that I had quit smoking. She didn't know anything. She didn't know nothing about me, right? And oh my God, did she tap into me like nobody's business. And the psychic reading that she gave to me, she looked at me and she said, "You healed yourself today." And I said, "I did." And she said, "The lung area." She said, you healed yourself. You had some type of lung issues. And today, being here in Sedona and tapping into the energy that's around here, you've healed yourself. And I thought, yeah, okay, whatever, right? I mean, how much do you actually believe until, because you have to see it, right? You have to feel it. You have to do all of that. So I was like, okay, I mean, everything else that she told me was spot on. So I thought, well, me and my best friend talked about it, and I said, this is what she told me. She told me I healed myself, and my best friend said to me, "Well, you did, and I just thought, okay, but what does that mean, right? Somebody tells you you healed yourself. What does that actually mean?" So anyway, so we continued the rest of our trip, right? And then our trip was done and over with, and we came back home here to Washington. And that was when I told my husband that I wanted him to move out and I wanted a separation. I didn't want a divorce at the time. I just wanted a separation. And the reason why was because I had also experienced that when him and I were sleeping. I mean, there was multiple reasons, but one of them was when him and I were sleeping in bed next to each other every night, I would wake up in the morning so tired. It was like I got no sleep. I had a difficult time sleeping. I would wake up multiple times throughout the night, uncomfortable, and I started, after going to Sedona, or actually before going to Sedona, I had learned about putting healing vortexes around my body to stop energy being pulled from me in any direction, mainly because I'm an empath. And so I have to protect myself at times when I go into places where I know that energies can be higher. There's people that I'm not going to know. I would, learning how to protect myself by putting an energy vortex around to stave off any negativity or any energy pull, energy sucking, anything like that, right? And so I had started doing that before we left for Sedona. I started doing that at night when I was sleeping next to my husband. It wasn't that I was trying to block him out. I was trying to block anything out that was taking my energy at night. I didn't know what was going on. And somebody at my church said, put an energy vortex around yourself, protect yourself, set that intention before you go to bed at night, right? And see how you feel in the morning. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll do that. So I started doing it, right? And the very first night, I woke up the next morning and I didn't feel overly tired. And the funny thing was probably at about 4 o'clock in the morning, my husband was supposed to be waking up for work. He said, I'm calling in today. And he kind of woke me up. I'm calling in today. Why are you calling in today? I've got this pounding, splitting headache. And I just, it's like a migraine. I can't take it. And he's suffered from migraines in the past. So I was like, okay, if he needs to take, his Excedrin migraine and black out the room and sleep it off, so that's what he did, right? He took the day. And so it was like, okay, later on in the day, he felt better and the headache was gone, of course, and then he continued on the rest of the day. And we went to bed that night. And again, I put a vortex around myself, and he woke up the next day again, mind you, with another migraine headache. At first, I didn't really connect the dots. I didn't really pay attention to, that must be what it's from. And then when I didn't put a vortex around myself the third night because I had forgotten to, he woke up the next morning and he felt fine. And, he went off to work. And then the next night, that night, I had remembered, oh my gosh, that's probably why I felt tired today. I didn't put the vortex around me. Last night, something was sucking my energy. Let me put the vortex around myself again tonight. And I did it that night. The next morning, he woke up with a headache again. So I connected the dots that what he was doing when I was sleeping was he was sucking my energy. It was draining me, but it was boosting him. And so when I put the vortex around myself, it stopped that energy pull that he had on me. And he was waking up with a headache because he wasn't getting his energy fix, I guess you would say, right? And so, eventually he had to figure out how to deal with it. And then we went off to Sedona, and we came back from Sedona, and I, told him I wanted a separation. And so, I, continuing on my spiritual path and everything, continuing to learn how to see energies in my mind's eye. So as him and I were going through our separation, and him living where he was living, and me, still living in the home, there was a lot of negativity, right? That was like festering negativity in the whole situation between our separation. And I could feel him. And it was funny. It would be like if my phone rang and I looked at my phone and I saw that it was him, I would automatically, it felt like somebody punched me in the gut, and I would just be sick to my stomach. And it was so overwhelming. It was like I couldn't, almost like I couldn't handle it, right? It was just so overwhelming, and it would set me back. It would literally set me back in my mind. It would set me back physically. It would set me back emotionally, spiritually, everything. I would feel like I was at ground zero again, and it would happen really, really fast. And that's all about energy that's being moved, right, between you and the other person. The thought process that they have of the energy that they're directing towards you that's not positive, and the thought process you have in your mind of living the same exact thing with somebody who is highly reactive and full of negative energy, you automatically go right to that expectation of that sick feeling, that expectation of what's going to happen next, how is this going to go, right? And it was happening over and over, and I was having a difficult time getting a grasp on it and getting it under control. And I finally had to start focusing myself Really, and I heard from my guides, you have all the power that you need inside of you to stave off whatever it is that he's putting in your direction. You have all the power to do that. You have to own that situation, take a hold of that, right? And move that energy. And not just move it from myself, but once I've moved it, because it's a dark energy, right? It's like pulling darkness into this mass here that kind of starts to swirl like a tornado would. And then what you need to do then is focus on calling in the light energy so the light energy can encapsulate that darkness and transmute it, right? This is, this is where I feel as holistic practitioners, it's our responsibility that when we move a darkness, we also have to transmute it. You can't just move it and then be like, okay, well, it's moved now. It's you have to transmute that energy. Mother Earth does that a lot. She pulls energy in, right? Turns it into positive energy, and then that's put back out. However, you have to think about how many people live on this planet now, right? And there's a lot of darkness that goes on. And Mother Earth tries to transmute the energy. A lot of times we're putting out more than she's capable of transmuting. And so that's where our whole universe and everything starts to get off kilter. And when that happens, then change comes in and the universe itself starts to right things. And crazy stuff starts happening, like fires start happening, earthquakes start happening, tornadoes, tsunamis, massive hurricanes. But you'll hear about, all of this stuff happening consecutively. It's like fires in California when there shouldn't have been fires in California. Like the storm that we recently had here in Washington that is completely out of the norm, where they were predicting the possibility of tornadoes and stuff like that. We've recently been having earthquakes that have been hitting in California and have shaken so hard that we felt it in Washington and Oregon. So, I mean, and granted, there's stuff that happens all the time, but when you start paying attention to the things weather-wise and the way that the earth tries to reset itself and tries to put things right, the cosmos tries to balance that back out. And when there's too much of one thing, they've got to do something to get it to shift so that it balances back out. Now, we can't destroy all the darkness. We need darkness within this existence. It's all about duality. I say that probably in every video. Being a human, the one thing being human is attributed to is understanding duality. The difference between right and wrong, dark and light, good and bad, all of that stuff, right? It also teaches us the duality of feminine and masculine, right? Because our creator has got two energies. One is feminine and one is masculine. The masculine is all about the knowledge of everything, and the feminine is all about the emotion, right? And so you need the knowledge and the emotion to come together. And that's what makes us as humans. We have a knowledge piece and an emotional piece. Some of us are more emotional, we're more feminine, and some of us are more knowledgeable and we're more masculine. Technically, we really should have it balanced out. And if you notice, good relationships of people that are strong within each other both have those pieces within them, and they are able to, how would you say, be what the other one can't at the time, right? So they balance each other out. And that's the way life needs to be. And when life starts to tip the scales and the scales of energy get in the wrong area, then things start happening. And I believe that us as holistic practitioners, and if you're an energy worker, most anybody who's in holistic, I would say, I would almost bet on it, has had Reiki 1, 2, and 3. Or at least knows how to heal with Reiki. It would be, I don't know, it would be kind of crazy, in my opinion, to be a holistic practitioner and have no idea energy or have no training in energy. That just doesn't seem like it would work. I don't know, I might be wrong. So we need to know that when we pull a dark energy from something, right? We need to then transmute that energy into light so that we're keeping the balance. We're helping keep that balance within this existence, this human existence, so that the darkness isn't building up to be more than what the light is, right? So I started to understand that I have the ability to stop energy from coming at me, and to stop that negativity from invading my space. One thing was my own mind, right? My intention. And this is another thing that I probably say in every video, is that your intention is everything. So the intention that you set forth, that you think, speak, and follow through is your intention, period. Once it's put out there, there's no way of changing it unless you choose to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do now to change this intention. My intention's a little bit different. But once you set it out there and you lock it in and say, this is my intention and what I intend to do, it's out there. That's just the way it is, right? And when your intention is about healing and good and kindness and all of those things, right? Then, it keeps that balance, because we have lots of dark stuff that's coming at us. And if we can transmute that, but we can also give grace to those who are a part of that darkness and disconnect with love and light, that also heals that bridge as well, right? So I was at, I think I also spoke on this in one other video. I was at a restaurant with my best friend, her husband, her son, and his girlfriend. And we were all having breakfast. And all of a sudden, while she was talking to me, I suddenly felt, I didn't get a phone call or anything, but I suddenly felt a gut punch. And as soon as I felt that energy that was making my stomach sick, I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from my husband. Now, I'm not saying that he was sitting there purposely. It's not like that. But we have to realize that what we think about, the negativity that comes out of us, when if you've ever been around a person who's extremely angry and you're not angry, but you're witnessing their anger, if you pay attention, it's almost like you can see the dark just oozing out of them. You can see it in the look on their face. You can see it in the body language that they have. You can see it in the words that they speak. You can see that darkness just oozing out, right? And so I felt that energy. And I just immediately was like, no. And she's talking to me, and I just closed my eyes and put my hands in gasho, and I just closed my eyes like this. And then all of a sudden she realized and she was like, what's going on? And then she stopped and she didn't say anything, right? And I sat there, and the darkness, I moved it. I could see it in my mind's eye that I moved it, and it was here in a ball, right? And I took my hand in my mind's eye and I pushed the darkness away from me. And when I did that, I felt the relief for a moment. And I opened my eyes and I looked at her, and she's looking at me. And as soon as I opened my eyes, she goes, "What did you just do?" She goes, "Because I saw some darkness move." Now that's the difference between her and I, is that when I see things, I see them in my mind's eye, but I feel them more than anything. So I can feel energy. She can see energy in real time. Okay. And so in my mind's eye, what I was doing, she was actually watching what I was doing. And she saw everything that I did. She said, "What the hell was that dark thing?" And I was able to get it away from me, right? And outside of the restaurant, but I knew that I wasn't done. And so I said to her, "It's a darkness that I need to go outside." And so I went outside. I wanted to scream to release, but I know I couldn't do that because there were patrons in the restaurant, and the last thing I want is a whole bunch of people running outside trying to figure out why I'm out there screaming. So I had to scream in my mind's eye. I couldn't physically do it. But I went out there and I stood outside with my eyes closed, and I stood in gasho again. And that's when I realized, and my guide said to me, change the energy. That was the first time that it was brought to my attention. And I thought, change the energy? What do you mean? Right? And then I got the encapsulate in the light. Oh, I get it. So I closed my eyes. I saw the energy. And I brought in the light. And I encapsulated that darkness in the light energy. And I transmuted it to be returned to the earth as healed energy. And when I did that, it for the rest of the day, it's like it cellularly changed me. It changed my thought process, and it changed how I was dealing with the situation between me and my husband. And of course, then it changed over to, now we're going to get a divorce, and things began to be, difficult for him to process, but that was no longer affecting me because I had learned how to stop that energy from coming my way, my intention, instead of sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, when's the next shoe going to drop? How's it going to go now? He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Instead of having that thought process of how bad it could get, I decided that I was going to not entertain the energy when it gets too much for me. I just simply say, I cannot be in this space with you. Goodbye. Or if it's a text message and it's an escalated text message, I just say in my mind that I cannot entertain that space, and I put my phone down and I don't respond to it. And I just allow it to do whatever it's going to do. And I refuse to own it within my own body, within my own space, within my own person. And that started to change things. We started to talk civilly. We were no longer arguing with each other. And don't get me wrong, there's times that the emotional value of it for him has been much higher than it is for me. Because I'm reserved to knowing that our marriage is over, and I'm fine with that. I understand it, and I know there's nothing that I can do about it. And I can't make myself feel a certain way that I don't feel anymore. And so I'm reserved to that. He's not exactly in that same headspace, right? So he would have times where he would feel a certain way. And once the text messages would start, the phone would go down. I would completely ignore it. I would disconnect myself, give him grace, remove myself in love and light, not entertain that energy. And my life changed. It really did. I mean, I had stopped taking, and this is funny, with the whole energy working on my own body, I don't take antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication anymore. And I'm not telling somebody to stop what they're doing medically. That is never, ever, ever what I will ever say. Okay. Although you can talk to your medical professional, your doctor, about getting yourself down off of medication if you're on a spiritual journey and you're learning how to regulate certain things within your body. There's some things like diabetes and stuff like that that's much more intricate. But I will say this for myself, okay? Doing the energy work on myself, doing the Reiki healings on myself, I was extremely overweight, even though I hardly ever eat. I'm not a junk food eater. I'm not a sit down and eat candy. I'm not donuts and cakes and treats and chips. And I'm not that kind of person. I do love bread and I do love carbs though. And now I don't do them like I used to. But I was overweight. I was 260 pounds. And at 5'3", 260 pounds is a lot. And I looked back on pictures of myself, and I look completely different now than I did then. I attribute all of it to being on my spiritual journey and understanding energy work. Energy that is negative, that is in your body from past traumas, from negativities and stresses, from any of that stuff, it morphs into physical pain and it physically attacks your body. It absolutely does. And your body will store it. And that has to do with a lot of weight gain too, is that your body is storing that trauma, that dark energy. And so understanding traumas that I still had to heal, understanding karmas that I had to let go that were not mine, that was attached to me from something somebody else did to me, moving that energy away and then transmuting it and sending it back into the earth. Um, Taking care of Reiki, healing myself every day. My joints don't hurt anymore. I'm down to 219 pounds now, which I want to stay between 2 and 220. I like being a thick girl. I think it looks good on me. If I was too small, it would look kind of funny. But I feel healthier now. I'm not out of breath when I do anything. I mean, I'm not out of breath ever. I don't ever go out of breath now. I don't take anti-anxiety medication anymore because I'm capable of regulating myself and my emotions and understanding where I am. I don't have acid reflux anymore. Every once in a great while, if I go overboard on something at a certain time that I know better, certain time of the day than I should be, I can get a little bit of it, but very rarely does it hit me anymore. So I don't even take my prescribed medication for that anymore. The funny thing is too, is I used to have really, really, really bad allergies, and normally at this time of the year, it would be kicking my ass. I don't even take allergy medication anymore. I sleep very well every single night. I very rarely wake up, and if I do, it might be because I need to shift because maybe my hand fell asleep, because I do have carpal tunnel in both of my hands. But yeah, I mean, and even that, to tell you the honest to God truth, it used to be that I would wake up multiple times a night, umpteen many times. I could not get more than an hour, hour and a half where I would actually sleep without waking up. I would wake up where one hand would be dead, the other hand would be dead, both of the hands would be dead. That very rarely happens to me anymore. And when it does, it's one hand, and it'll be because I'm laying on it in the wrong way. So it's like my carpal tunnel doesn't even affect me like it used to. And I believe that has to do with calling in that universal energy and allowing it to flow through my body and heal me in the places that I need healing, right? So, I mean, not only does energy work have to do with you physically, it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it's cellularly, it's all bodies, right? And I know I had read this at one time in one of my past YouTube videos that I did, but I'm going to go ahead and read this again for you guys today on this one too, because I am doing this talk on energy work. But it's a clear your energy statement that my best friend gave to me that I use anytime I feel stressed, or I feel like the energy around me is stagnant or dense, or I feel like sometimes my daughter can get home. I absolutely love her to death. I do. She's super high energy. She can get home. Something can happen. She can come rushing into my office, Mom, and she'll have all this excitement about her. And I can feel that energy coming towards me. And I have to keep myself in a mental space in my mind's eye where I push back and say, no, I'm not taking that energy. I allow her to say whatever it is that she needs to say and get it off of her chest. And I'll usually say to her then, breathe. And try to get her to come back down. And then I'll read that energy statement. So I can move that energy from me that does not belong to me, but I can transmute it, right? So the energy statement says, I bring my awareness to my 5 bodies. That's spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and cellular, right? So that's right on down to the cellular network of your DNA. And I immediately invite in the highest healing frequencies of the universe, right? So you're asking that energy to come into you now. I command out all excess energies and energies that do not belong to me. And I transmute my stagnant energy into the vibrations of love and oneness. So that is transmuting any stagnant or dark energy that is a part of you, pushing it out and transmuting it, right, into the vibrations of love and oneness and bringing it back in. So then you just transmuted any darkness that's around you, and now you've called it back into yourself, and you intend to receive that as healed energy, right? And then I immediately call my energy back from all people, situations, and outcomes that I might have attached to. And I intend to receive it back as healed energy. Meaning that any energy that you put out that could have attached to any one situation, place, or thing, and maybe started to turn into something more than the vibrations of love and oneness and white energy, you're calling it back. And you are transmuting it also, and you're turning it into white energy, and you're calling it back to your body. And you're setting that intention. When you say the statement, you're putting that intention out there. There's nothing else that it can be. The only thing that can come to you is the vibrations of love and oneness and the healed white energy. That's all that you can get back out of that. And then at the end you say it's immediately done, meaning this statement that I've made now is immediately done. It's done right now. So all that energy comes back to me. Any of my stagnant energy is turned into the vibrations of love and oneness, or anything that's coming back to me is healed and it's mine again. And it sets you back at a level plane, right? It transmutes your energy and it brings you back in. And another thing that I use is I have Palo Santo incense, and I also have Palo Santo spray, and then I have Palo Santo smudging sticks. And if you don't know what a smudging stick is, it's a little piece of wood that you light, and it smolders, it puts off smoke, and you can smudge that smoke around your body to remove any dark energy that is outside of you or attaching itself to you, and smudge your body so that you're clean and clear again and that energy is moved. You can do it with the spray because it's made from Palo Santo, the spray, and you can do it with the incense because the incense sticks are also made from Palo Santo. And Palo Santo is awesome because the only thing it removes is dark energy. There's lots of people that like to sage. And here's a sage stick. I have several of them. And for a while there, I used them all the time. Now, in a place where there is, if I was to go into a place and do an energy healing or an energy clearing on it, and which, mind you, I perfectly can do, and I can see in my mind's eye all the negative energy that's there. I've done it at my best friend's property, and her property has got a lot of stuff going on, right? So it's like I have to pull everything in and up, and then I have to bring in the white light and encapsulate it so it can get pushed back down into the earth and return as healed energy. But if there are places that you are clearing as a Reiki practitioner and you're trying to send energies on, which I've crossed people over to the other side. I can totally do that. When they're stuck here, and I can see loops when there is a soul, or I don't even want to say a soul, a spirit, or a ghost in this plane that's stuck in a loop. Because there is a difference between ghosts and spirits. And that'll be for another topic, right? But somebody who's lived in this physical plane that has died, and a piece of them is still here stuck in that loop, I can see those. And I've been able to connect with that energy and then move that energy on to no longer being here. The only time I suggest sage is if you're dealing with such dark energy that it's almost poltergeist type, or if it's such a deep dark energy that you've literally got to clear the field of everything, because not only will sage remove dark energy, it will remove white light energy as well. So it will literally set the area back to zero, right? Most of the time, what we want to do within our own space and our own areas, we want to move the darkness that's trying to come in. Or, I mean, you have somebody who comes to your house, knocks on your front door. It could be the mailman, it could be somebody who is dropping. I mean, it's like I had Rent-A-Center people here recently because my washing machine was acting up. So they had to take it, replace it with another one, and then repair it and bring it back, right? So I have these people in my, I don't know them. I don't know what their life is like outside of here. And when people come to your home, they bring energy, you know? And so it's up to you to keep your home and the energies within your place clear and white, right? So depending upon what you're feeling or what you feel has attached. You know, I had a situation years and years and years ago, and this right here, it's really funny because now that I look back on it, I see it even more for what it was. My son Darian was, I don't even think he was a year. He was probably between 9 months and a year old. And it was Mother's Day. And at that time, I was living in an apartment out in Lakewood with my husband at the time, my ex-husband. This was from my first marriage. His two oldest boys lived with us. I had 2 children and custody of my brother. Okay, so at this point, that's 5 kids, right? And my daughter Maxine, that was born in '99 and passed away, she had already passed away. And then we had Darian, our next child. We didn't have my daughter Desiree yet. She still wasn't born yet. And like I said, Darian was between 9 months and a year old. And it was Mother's Day. And so, yeah, he had to be about 9 months. And my ex-husband and my really good friend at the time, her husband, decided they were going to make us dinner, right? And decided that because it was Mother's Day, that they were going to take the kids, you know, over to his apartment, his and her apartment, and just leave her and I quietly at home. The only child that I took when we stayed at my place watching TV and just talking and enjoying ourselves was my son Darian, because he was still a baby. And I laid Darian down to take an afternoon nap. And he was in the room, and he had been in there for, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, not even 30 minutes, maybe like 15 minutes, right? He had just fallen asleep on me, and I knew he needed a nap. And I got a knock at the front door shortly after I had laid him down in bed, and it was another lady that we knew from our apartment complex, right? And she had, when she knocked on my door that day and I opened the door and I let her in, I don't know what it was at the time. I didn't understand it, but I knew something just wasn't right. It didn't feel right. And she came in and she talked with us for a few minutes, and then she left. And as she was leaving, my son Darian started screaming like bloody murder, like somebody was killing him in the bedroom. And it scared me because it was dead silent in the house outside of us ladies, you know, quietly talking. And then all of a sudden there's this high-pitched blood-curdling scream as she's leaving. So I kind of shoo her out the door and shut the door and run in there and get my son. And he's just grabbing onto me like his life depended on it. And I'm just like, what's the matter? And then all of a sudden I just got this sick feeling. And I've had this happen to me a few times in my life where I knew all of a sudden, and I know it was my higher self and my guides that were telling me, I just wasn't connected to it fully at the time, right? They were telling me there is demonic energy here, right? I felt like something dark was there. It didn't come right away though. So let me back up a little bit. So I go in the room, I grab him. He's all grabbing on me. He's absolutely terrified, right? I bring him out to the living room. He lays on my chest. I'm patting him, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe at 9 months he had a bad dream, right? I mean, what do you dream about at 9 months? But okay. So I patted. He fell back asleep. He fell back to sleep on me. So I took him back in the bedroom and I laid him back down in the bed. He wasn't even in there a couple of minutes. Me and my friend are talking and he's screaming again, right? This happened that time and one more, right? Within probably a 15-minute period. I brought him back out. He fell asleep on me again. I put him back in there. He laid down. He wasn't in there for a couple of minutes. And the third time that I went in there to get him, something told me there is something very, very dark in here. And I took him out to my friend Tony. That was my girlfriend's name. And I said, I need you to take him. I need to deal with something. And I went back in the room and I shut the door. And I had this thing that I used to say, that I would say, demon thee, get behind me. In the name of God and in the name of Jesus, you have no power here. And you have no power over me. You are not welcome within my space and you must leave. I don't know why, but that's what I would say. And there was probably a couple handfuls of times through my entire life where I felt overwhelmed, like there was an imminent danger of darkness there, that I had to speak that, right? That I had to move that energy. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I was compelled. The energy and the air in the room went back to normal. I put my son to bed. He went to sleep, never woke up again. And later on the next day, I had spoken to that other lady who had came over to my house. And I didn't tell her what happened. All I said to her was, what were you doing prior to coming over to my place? What had you been doing? She said, oh, I had some friends over at my apartment. We were playing with an Ouija board. Okay, now, Ouija boards and seances and stuff like that are absolutely beneficial when they are used in the proper settings, with the proper guidance and educated people that know what they're doing. Because we have seances at my church periodically through the year. And Reverend Jackie, she's the conduit that taps in, and her husband puts her deep into like a trance, and he guides her through the seance. And people come through for whoever's there at the seance, right? And some people that aren't even there, people come through for. When you're in a controlled environment with people who know what they're doing, Ouija boards, seances, and different things like that are perfect tools to connect to the other side of people who have passed on, our guides, and all of that stuff, right? However, when you're just willy-nilly messing around with those things, you don't know what you're tapping into. You don't know what you're talking to. You don't know what you're inviting in. And she had no idea what she was doing. They were just playing around with it. And she had something that was following her. And when it followed her and it came to my home, it felt comfortable trying to stay. And it was bothering my son. And I moved that energy. I didn't at the time understand what that was. I just, being a protective mother, and whatever my higher self and my guides were telling me to do, I followed through and did it and set the plane back to being, safe, or whatever you would call it. So even through my life, I had times where I was moving energy. I just didn't understand that I was doing that. So now when I look back on those situations, I realize, so then I've gotten more now to where I understand that there's dark energies and entities have no room within my space. You know what I'm saying? They're not welcome. They have no power here. I have all the power. And so those things, I have no fear from those things whatsoever, because they have no way of doing anything in this human existence plane unless we give them the okay to do so. We have to give our consent and relinquish our authority in order for them to be able to do things and to press in on us. Now, they know how to break down certain people over time, right? There's people that eventually do have attachments to them and do have demonic energies that are very much ingrained in their life, and they're completely not even aware of it. However, when you learn how to move those energies from yourself, and you learn, and see, this is the thing. My best friend, even, she has an attachment that's on her that we're still breaking down and whittling away, and there's a lot of stuff that's been removed from her that was attached to her. And even though she's been within her psychic abilities for years and years and years, and she was actively using it, she still came to a point in her life where she made some decisions and her life went a certain way, and somehow or another she gave consent and allowed these energies to attach themselves to her. They couldn't just do it because they wanted to. There had to be some type of a consent. And so we've moved everything except one. We still have one that's hanging around, right? That we still need to remove completely and return that energy back to the source. But when you understand that you have all the power here and they have none, your higher self doesn't have power here. Your guides don't have power here. Dark energies and entities don't have power here. Nothing has power here except for you. This is your playing field. This is your backyard. You are the one in control in this human existence, nothing else. And once you come to the realization that there is absolutely nothing you can do to me without my consent, that fear, gone, right? Of course, that's a fear. You go out to the movies and you watch, some people laugh at it now, and I kind of do too, because, it's kind of gross at times when you watch, like, the movie The Exorcist. Some of the scenes are, like, they're cringeworthy. But it's almost laughable because that does not happen without giving consent. And it actually doesn't even happen at that level, right? That's, like, so far-fetched. But somebody would go watch that movie and be totally freaked the F out and in fear of that, and the whole thought process that, oh my God, that could happen, right? And they believe that can happen. That is the first step in consent, is you believing that can happen. That can't happen if you don't give the okay. It can't happen. Nothing can be done to you in any way without your consent. So anything that you see when it comes to supernatural movies and stories and all of that stuff, right? That stuff can only do things to you because you give it the power. Once you've given the power, then it will take control. You see hauntings, right? Where there'll be like a home or something, and paranormal investigators will come in and they will examine that home, and they'll, do the EMFs and, all this different stuff, and the voice recorders, and sometimes they'll use that Xbox thing that can pick up, it'll look like stick figures, or they'll use, camera motion sensors that will take pictures in areas to see if it catches movement. They do all kinds of stuff, right? The voice box that they use, it's a static box, and the energies or entities or ghosts or spirits or whatever can use that box to speak through. All of that stuff is within a paranormal controlled environment where they're investigating it and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And a lot of times, a lot of the things that you see on TV, they are spoofed, they are messed with. Although there are authentic situations of the stuff that actually does happen, and there are people who have been scratched. There are people who have had things that have happened to them when they've had what they believe a haunting in their home, right? And all of these hauntings can be different. It can be for different things. Sometimes a haunting is all poltergeist energy. And it's poltergeist energy from dark energy that's there. And then you have somebody who is spiritual or psychic or has mediumship or psychic abilities, but they're not aware of it, or they're not really acknowledging it. but they will put out energy, right, from the stress of they think their house is haunted, they think there's darkness here, they think something's going to get them, they're giving it all this power, and then an entity of poltergeist activity is born, right? And then things start to move, cupboards shut, chairs move, different things like that. And what it is it's actually, that energy is actually from the psychic person who's there and is completely oblivious to the abilities that they have to move things. So their energy is coming out of their body and it's turning into an entity, if that makes sense. So understanding how energy works is super important. And understanding energy and your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your intellectual well-being, everything is based around the balance of what that energy looks like in your life. And the more negative energy that you put out there goes with that whole secret law of attraction. The more darkness that you put out, the more negative energy that you put out, the more negative energy is attracted to you. So when you do something in a negative way, if you want to get back at somebody for something, or you're out there on the road and somebody cut you off, so you get upset and you're going to cut them off, and then it starts to build. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. Have you ever woke up in the morning and you stubbed your toe, and the way you reacted to stubbing your toe then caused you to slip in the bathroom, then caused you to maybe drop your phone in the toilet, then caused you to, drop your coffee that you just got at Starbucks on the ground. And it's like this perpetual wheel, and shit just keeps happening. And the reason why is because it is the mindset that you're in, and it is the energy that your momentum is picking up, and the negative energy is just coming at you. And it's going to keep coming at you until you settle yourself back down. And, so this is a topic that I could talk on forever. You could be on the topic of energy and the energy that we have around us, and dark energy and light energy, and how you can move energies in your own body, how you can move energies in places, how you can move energies in other people. I mean, it's such a huge topic. It's something you could talk on forever. And it's something that I'm very, very good at. I completely understand the law of how that energy works. And I completely understand the law of what darkness is and isn't capable of doing. And I completely understand the law of keeping yourself balanced, and how to move things on, and how to move stagnant energy, and how to transmute darkness into light, and how to, rid homes of demonic and darkness. I can do all of that. I absolutely love doing that. When I go in and I close my eyes and I allow that energy to move through me, and I allow to see myself in my mind's eye, the work that I'm doing when I'm doing it, is, I wish I could show it to people, because you would be amazed to see it in action, right? Although I can't, because nobody, the people I'm working with don't see what I see, because if they did, they wouldn't need me, right? So it's, like I said, I could go on and on and on this topic. This is a topic that I absolutely love, and it's something that I'm very, very good at. It has a huge part to do with my holistic practice, right? Is knowing and understanding energies and how to move those energies, and understanding that you can make your life very, very pleasant by understanding how to keep the balance of energy in your life. You can heal yourself physically, ailments that you have, from understanding how to move energy that is no longer good for your body away from your body. How you can make sure, my home is very much my domain. I don't allow people just to come to my home. I'm very, very picky about who comes here and who brings energy in here. And that's because my house is my sanctuary. It's my area that I know I'm always safe and I'm always capable. I put vortexes around this house. My brother does it too. We both will just from time to time sit down and I will just see myself building a vortex. And I always start from the room that I'm in and I close my eyes and I see that vortex envelope the room and then the next room and then up to the second floor, you know, and then out into the yard and then outside of the yard. And I watch it grow and I put that protection around my home on a regular basis to make sure that, you know, even because there's darkness that floats around, right? And sometimes we'll have things come through. And usually the things that come through here, there used to be dark here and there isn't anymore since my husband and I separated and I've made changes in my life. The darkness that used to be in my home is gone. But, you know, also understanding that it's all up to you as well, in what your thought process is, in what your intention is, and what your belief is, right? Because you can absolutely, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is different to the point that you can have somebody over here who believes in demonic possession, okay? And somebody over here who believes that demonic possession is not possible. Okay, it's absolutely not possible. I don't believe it's possible. I will give it no power. I think it's BS. Okay? And then you have somebody over here, and they can both be on a spiritual path. And they can both be very enlightened and know lots and lots of things and be very knowledgeable and have connections to their guides, to their spirits and everything. Both of them could even be in mediumship and psychic abilities, right? However, your belief, right, is what also directs your life. So this person who has a belief that demonic possession is possible, okay, and this person who doesn't are going to view things a lot differently. They're going to view their lives a lot differently. They're going to view other people a lot differently. Scary movies a lot differently. Halloween a lot differently. All of those things, right? They're going to see things completely different, even though both of them are extremely knowledgeable. Both of them are on a spiritual path. Their belief is what they're grounded in. And it's our beliefs. I know I've talked about this in a past discussion before. Your beliefs can absolutely cripple you or they can free you. So, you know, tying it all in, I know this video is longer than any of my others, and that's because when it comes to energy work, it's a passion of mine. It's something that I know a lot about, that I understand a lot about. And the reason why I know so much and understand so much is because my higher self and my guides talk to me about it all the time. And they let me know indefinitely that I have all the power here. And that what goes in this human existence is what I set forth. My intention, my energy, my belief, right? So I don't know if this resonated with anyone today or if it helped anyone. If it didn't, it clarified some things for you or made you understand things a little bit more within your own life when it comes to energy. Perfect. If I hit one person, then I did what I was focused to do today. So if you don't forget to click subscribe and like on my videos. The videos, I've noticed more that I get a lot more views. Not so much that people like on them, but I get more views on my meditations. So I think I might start making more meditations weekly. If there is something, a topic that you want me to talk about, please comment that in the comments. You can also go to my Facebook page for the Easing Spirit. You can leave comments and suggestions there. You could even talk with me about the different things that I give being a holistic practitioner and what that looks like. So everybody, as I always say, please lead each day in love and light, and namaste. And thank you so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.